Hey everyone, how's it going today? And welcome back to another third stimulus check unemployment benefits extension update. And welcome back, or welcome if you guys are brand new here, consider subscribing to join in. So we have really great news, as most of you guys probably already know, but if not, is that the third stimulus package has now officially been approved and signed inside of the House, and is now basically sitting inside of the Senate for potential modifications. Now the really great news is that it still looks very promising. There are a couple of news that recently just came out, some even this morning, about what they're currently going to do, their plans going forward, what to expect next, something that happened with the minimum wage, and also basically a lot of different details about what's potentially going to come over the next couple of days. So in today's update, I really just want to talk a little bit about where we currently stand, what we currently can expect going forward. I do maybe want to answer one common question, which is I know about some people were just wondering a little bit about who the unemployment program applies to, and also who it maybe doesn't apply to. So I want to maybe touch up a little bit about that at the very end. So we're going to get started right away, but before we begin, make sure you smash the like button in light of a lot of the great news, especially now that it has been approved inside of the House. Consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification button for future updates on stimulus, unemployment, and other kinds of finance related topics. And feel free to comment any questions, thoughts about honestly just really anything at all. Happy Monday and start to the brand new week and month. As crazy as it is, we are now 1/6 of the way into this year. It's crazy. We're actually now almost at the 1-year anniversary from when all of this crazy pandemic lockdown ended up starting to happen. It's kind of crazy. We're almost at the 1-year mark, but now we are starting the brand new month and the brand new year together. So with that being said, let's get this video started. So the great news, as we just mentioned, is that the third stimulus package has officially approved and been passed inside of the House. I believe they literally approved it Saturday very early morning, or at this point you can even say Friday at night, but it's just technically Saturday, well, unless you count Pacific time. But it was approved right around 2 a.m. on Saturday, so very early or late depending on how you look at it. And it's basically now sitting inside of the Senate, hoping to go through some amendments. Now the story right now is that the time frame is that they still looks like they're very much on track to being able to finally approve it right around the middle of March, which is crazy to think is only 2 weeks away. But it's still very much on schedule, so that is the really great news. It's on schedule to try to get approved by then. I believe the general plan, what they're hoping to shoot to do right now is that over the next couple of days, starting today, they're hoping to try to basically make a lot of amends. It's probably going to be a lot more to minimum wage. Now with that being said, now that they are making a couple amendments, it would not be unreasonable to think that they maybe will amend something else. It doesn't look likely, but it is very possible that if they sit down and they realize that they're going to be amending the minimum wage, maybe something else could potentially get amended. It doesn't look likely, but it is something. But the minimum wage is almost definitely going to be amended, and they're probably going to plan to take it out and then try to create their own bill to really vote on inside of the Senate. Once they vote inside of the Senate with the hope that it, ends up being approved, it's probably going to go from the Senate and then back to the House. So you can even consider this almost like a reverse approval. Normally it goes from the House to the Senate. Now it's going to go from the House to the Senate and then back to the House and then to President Biden's desk. In terms of the odds that this is going to be approved, I think it still really stands right now that it's probably going to be 50-50. Now, granted, I actually do think that the odds of it approving is actually higher right now than it was last week. So I'd even go to say maybe even a little bit above 50. So it's looking like it's likely going to be approved. However, of course, we have to kind of wait till it actually physically happens, because the good and not so good news is that it does look like very likely is that they're going to be taking out the minimum wage from this bill. Now with that being said, is that there is something that it can still very much happen, but just in a little bit of a different way. But the idea, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about that at the very end very briefly, but the idea is that right now it looks like they're probably going to be removing the minimum wage. Now there is a good news and there is also not a good news. The obviously not so good news is that if you really wanted to support the minimum wage, it's probably not going to happen in this bill. It can still very much happen, but but it's going to probably potentially happen in another way. And we're going to touch up very quickly about that. But the bright news is that because they are taking out the minimum wage, it also actually does mean that there's an even higher chance now that it can potentially approve inside the Senate from the House. So when it was approved inside of the House, I believe is that the actual results that came out was that, sadly, but probably to no surprise, none of the Republicans voted in support of the bill. Most Democrats did support the bill. That's how it, got approved. But there were actually a few Democrats that were still very, very hesitant about it. So I think the idea is that if the same exact ratio happened inside the Senate, there's only 2 senators that are still on the edge, Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin. I think that the only reason they were very hesitant about it was because of the minimum wage. So that's the reason why it does look a little bit more likely and more promising that it's going to go through the Senate now, off of the logic that because now that they did take out the minimum wage, which is, sad if you were someone that really wanted the minimum wage. But on bright news is that it also does mean that the odds of approving is even more higher now, that because maybe if they can overlook this, both of those senators can now finally approve. So with the assumption that none of the Republicans, sadly, are going to be voting for the third stimulus package inside the Senate, if every single Democrat can get on board and approve, it'll hopefully finally go through, approve, and become official. And I think that the hope is that they're taking the next couple of days to really try to make amends to it. We're probably going to know what actually physically gets amended, if something gets amended besides, aside from taking out the minimum wage. Consider subscribing if you guys haven't done so already and you're interested in getting updates about that. But I think that they're shooting to hopefully try to approve it inside of the Senate by the very, very end of this week, to go back to the House by the start of next week, and then hopefully get approved inside of the House, and then within the next maybe just a couple of days get approved in Biden's office. With everything hopefully going smoothly, the stimulus package should hopefully finally get approved in everywhere it has to be approved. So Senate, House, and President's desk in about 2 weeks, right in time before the unemployment basically expires and ends, so they can hopefully make the transition hopefully as smooth as they can possibly try to make it. And then I know in terms of who qualified, I know we did cover this in a couple of videos, but some people were still wondering. Feel free to check out that video I made a couple of days ago. I think it's physically called Official Bill, if you haven't done so already, because I know some people haven't. That basically just explains and breaks down everything related to the unemployment part of the official bill, including parts from the actual official text that we break down. But the unemployment program is going to thankfully apply to almost every single person on unemployment, whether you are on PUA, PEUC. The only interesting program that actually is not included inside of this unemployment is actually going to be the Fed Ed and the EB. I don't think is that they're going to be including the Fed Ed and EB only out of the logic because the Fed Ed and EB, interestingly, is actually a state program. So it's not actually related to the federal, on the federal level. It's something that individual states generally do. Now, with that being said, is that the Fed Ed and the EB actually may get extended, but just not necessarily in this package. But what they may potentially do is that because there is what is included in this package is the state and local government aid, what they may end up doing is actually taking part of the state and government aid, and then maybe if the state wanted to, they could potentially just be doing their own package of some kind, and then within that, it's possible that maybe the state would extend the Fed Ed or EB, but that would be much more specific to the state. And there's actually a lot of states that are coming out with their programs now. Like I know in California, if you guys are from California, I made like a video, I think 2 days ago or something like that, or a couple days ago. It's physically called Extra $600. If you haven't seen it, long story short is that there's many people in California that are going to be getting a special $600 stimulus check just to certain people in California. So that's why the Fed Ed and EB would not apply to this, at least not directly, unless the state decides to do it. However, if you are on the Fed Ed or EB, the likelihood is that they're probably just going to have you continue through the Fed Ed and EB program until it, expires, and then they're probably just going to put you back on the PUC. So you guys should be pretty much set. So in a way, it's like the Fed Ed and EB is not necessarily extended, but there is something at least for people to stay on unemployment if you are someone that's on the Fed and an EB. So that's what I really wanted to cover in today's update, kind of a heads up about what to expect, the requirements, because some people were still kind of confused about that part. Hopefully you guys found some insight. Remember to smash the like button if you guys haven't done so already. Consider subscribing, hitting the bell notification button for future updates. I'll put a couple videos maybe at the end about different programs and parts of unemployment if you guys are interested and haven't checked it out yet. And also feel free to comment any questions, thoughts about honestly just really anything at all. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay well, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.